Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, on behalf of your Denver-based podcast crew, we appreciate you joining us for the Friendly Vibes.
Coming to you live from somehow a still very hot Top Shelf Studios, and it's almost October. I'm joined by my very wonderfully funny, lovely guest, Christina Vasili. Did I get it wrong still?
No, that's good.
Oh, I got it right. Yes.
I feel like you were questioning it the way you drew it out,
Oh,
but
no, I do.
it was like a bit of a dramatic effect.
I had an old
was
friend
fine.
on, and just a second for you.
Got it.
There you go. Now,
Okay.
Can they still see you? They can still see you.
Yes.
We're productionless again, so it's just me and my gal pal,
Yep.
a fellow High Plains volunteer,
Mm-hmm.
stand-up comedian, and unemployed person, right?
Yes.
Riding out this unemployment
Mm-hmm.
until what? When's the other side of this? Have to wait for something to.
That's a great question. Well, I just got my certification to teach like self-defense classes, so I have one class on the books. Hopefully, there will be many more to come.
Hell yeah,
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Mhm.
Have you been getting in street fights, or what spurred that?
Yeah. It's really just my the fact that I kept losing. I was like, how do I get
There's gotta
one
be a way to
W?
win one of these.
No, I set up a free self-defense class for female comics one time, and I had like a benefit show to raise money at Wide Right and everything, and then I just kind of really hit it off with the woman that was leading it, and eventually as we kept working together, I was just like, how do I do what you do?
I love
I'm unemployed, like just take me on, and she was down, so
That's fantastic.
we're pals.
Well, I read a scary story this week about a student on ASU getting stabbed, walking from campus, and I was taking pictures yesterday and was like, okay, we need to make sure that if you're walking in between campus, you're carrying something with you and you're
Yeah.
paying attention, and because it's a scary climate, especially in a major city of Denver.
Yeah, the woman I work with just put in a bid at CSU Boulder, and if she gets it, then I'll be taking on all of those workshops. But it's like, I've already done one at a sorority at the School of Mines, and yeah, I think a lot of college age women would benefit, especially just from not being distracted. Like I've seen videos of like this woman just getting attacked because her face was just buried in her phone. And
That's the thing that worries me, is that
So,
everybody's
yeah.
so not mindful, especially in public settings where there
Mhm.
could be people that are trying to take malicious action against people that look like easy targets.
yeah, that's like the first thing I say in a workshop is like, my goal is to make you a hard target, because like women are just, they don't know how they could like come off just a little bit less like targeted, I guess.
What are some things for an average person that's, living in a major city in the United States that they can do as a woman to...
Well, not looking at your phone. If you are ever feeling like uncomfortable around someone, just looking them dead ass in the eye and just letting them know that you see them and that you're not uncomfortable by their presence, and then just
Like the "what are you looking at, bitch" look?
like even if you think someone's behind you, like fully turn around and look at them, and you don't have to do that all the time. It's like, trust your gut, and then also just being confident, like keeping your head up and just looking like you're supposed to be there and like you have purpose in walking, because so many of us tend to just make ourselves small.
I mean, I try to make myself small.
Yeah.
myself, so I totally understand.
I've been trying to make myself big for, just being 5'2", but just shoulders back,
Well, then
Act
you
like you
must
don't give a
like
fuck.
public transit at 5'2". It's a
Oh,
convenient thing.
huge fan of public transit.
I find that shorter people are more prone to be the higher propensity to be socialist. They love,
Mhm.
public transit systems, anything, small boxes. They're big fans of.
Yeah. Standing on milk boxes,
No, I mean, did you stop growing really early, like middle school? I know a lot of girls, they hit that, final height and they just stop because they hit puberty before the boys did. So like my friend who's a tall girl, she, passed me by way, way, way. I had to catch up to her in middle school and high school.
Yeah,
What's
honestly,
it like for the shorter side?
I don't think I've ever thought about that. I think I at a very young age, I was just like, I'm short. Accept it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This is it.
I think
I better get some glasses.
better just add to the targetability of it all. But they loved me in dodgeball. But yeah, I think tall women and short men probably paid the most attention to probably their growing. Like women are like, am I going to stop? And men are like, can I please keep going?
Yes.
So just accepting that I was a short girl was like, okay, that's just being short is okay.
Did you ever play any sports?
I played softball for like 10 years.
Softball? What position?
But first.
What's good about first base in softball?
What'd you say?
What's good about first base in softball, playing first base? That people wouldn't know.
That you should play it if you're a lefty, because that's the only reason I started playing it was I was playing third, and my coach, the new coach I got in high school, was like, why the fuck are you on third? You're a lefty. You should be playing first.
Oh, because you can step out.
Because of the way. Yeah. And I was like, okay, whatever you say, coach.
That's sweet. Okay.
So
you played through high school?
Through like sophomore year.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then what? Found cool kids and drugs, or
started smoking, and yeah, just really didn't give a fuck, honestly. It was just a good way to like get the camaraderie without doing much. Like I basically from a very young age was like, what can I play that requires the least, but I can still make friends.
So the exertion part of sports was not of any interest or passion to you?
No, not at all. But I was a captain for we had a comic kickball tournament, and Megan had asked me to be a captain. I don't know why, but I remember running to second, and I slid into second, and I haven't like shown any element of athleticism in this world, or in like especially in the comedy world. Like no one would be like, oh, she's athletic, and everyone was just like, what the fuck? And I even thought that too, but it's like second nature. Like it's kind of muscle memory. Like
you just gone
I was
back
so
into
used to doing it, but I hadn't done it in like 10, 15 years. So I surprised myself. I was like, oh, I guess I'm sliding now.
That's fun.
In a fucking kickball game.
I love that. I had a similar experience with throwing an ultimate frisbee for the first time in a long time. I did that in high school and then college, and then transitioned to playing disc golf, which is like the old man's ultimate, because it's just like golf.
Love disc golf. I can't throw an actual frisbee to save my life, but I'm good at disc golf.
You like disc golf?
Yes.
Well, cool. That's your gift today, is a disc golf disc.
Yes.
So you're going to be adding to the bag if you don't already have one. You're going to be.
I have the putter and the non-putter.
The putter and the non-putter. Okay.
Driver.
Well, maybe I can give you something that slots in between the putter and the non-putter as like a mid-range.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Whatever you got, I need it.
Love it. What do you and your boyfriend like to do for fun? Disc golf, is that something you guys do together, or you do it with friends?
It's not something we do that often in general. I used to do it a lot more. But we like going to a lot of shows. He's got a lot of friends in bands, and then he's a comedy fan, but he's not a comic, which
ooh, okay.
Fucking phenomenal. Like funny guy that isn't like, hey babe, how do I get up on stage? And so that's nice. But so we still do check out a lot of comedy shows together, and yeah, just yesterday. So Saturday is the only day that we like have off together, and we made the mistake of trying to go see some fucking Leaves, and it was not worth it. Like it took.
We did that yesterday for pictures. Brutal.
I've never felt like such a fool.
Where'd you go?
We went to Ganello Pass, but like we came around from Golden. Oops. And that was nonstop traffic. So we stopped in Idaho Springs and like had a couple of drinks just to be like, what the fuck? And we were watching the dog. So we were like, let's get this dog out of the car. And then we went up to Ganello Pass from that side and hit the summit. It was great. And then it took 2 hours to get from the summit just to the bottom of it to go left on, and like that road that takes you to 285. It was kind of like we've been together for almost a year, but those types of things are still like such a test of like, we can only make so many comments about the fact that we still haven't moved. And then we're just like, and I'll do anything to like fill in the silence, but eventually we're just sitting in silence, just looking out the window, and we're just like,
do you guys have comfortable silence?
I would say yes. It's something I really struggle with. Just in general, I always would associate like silence with like, I'm not being entertaining enough, or I'm not like, the other person must be like sick of me. But I would say times like this, like force me to deal with the comfort of the silence. 'Cause it's like, I don't have enough in me to keep this going for like, oh God, we left around like 11:30. We got home at 7:30. So wow. I was like, yeah, I don't have enough material for this shit. We're just gonna sit here. And so yeah, it took a while to get there, but I think it's just been being with someone long enough that you get through the discomfort that I'm like, okay, like clearly this is me overthinking. So maybe stop making this so hard for yourself and just accept.
I have the same type of thing in my relationship where it's like, I just and then it's just completely on the other side, just comfortable with just being a person. It's like, no, I can't do that.
Like, what's that like?
How do I do that?
Yep.
You're just okay. Cool.
Yep. It's hard to understand.
I mean, the fall colors are just peak, just the best. I mean, they're going to be gone any day now. I mean, they could be potentially, but
I think it's that fear tactic that makes everyone like race to them. Like everyone's like, it's the end of September. It's the end of September. And everyone's
gotta go.
That's the end of September right now. So let's go. And already I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be like doing this on a Wednesday. Like I'm going to just go to Breck on my own on a Wednesday. But I won't tell him because he put so much into doing this for me. But I'm like, we barely even saw that much. But the summit of Ganella Pass is still gorgeous. I mean, it had nothing to do with the colors. So I was like, okay,
it's still a mountain pass.
Yeah, it's still nice to be reminded that you live in a gorgeous place. Like, I forget sometimes.
I was trying to come up with good public policy, sitting in traffic on the way up I-70 yesterday. I thought, God, we got to do something about all these people. One, these people can't drive in the mountains, so we got to do something about that. But let's set that problem aside. We just need to restrict how many fuckers can be up here. So we got to tax the fuck out of people. We got to have like walls, like different barriers to like get to the better and better parts of Colorado. Like Ouray, that's got to be like 5-6 checkpoints deep. Like, okay. So what you do is you tax Texans double, triple, because their propensity to cause forest fires in Colorado is way higher than any other state. So you should have to pay 3 times as much to go in these mountains.
That's what the data shows. Yeah.
Midwestern people that grow up in the lowlands and the worst parts of this country, just landscape wise, they should get a discount. Come over for free. If you're going to make the trip from fucking Minnesota and check it out, you get in for free.
You deserve to feel something.
Are you from New York? Are you from Florida? Are you from California? Triple the tax, whatever the fuck, you know.
Yeah, you're from New York, you can afford it. Like the people, I'm from just outside New York, and the people that come here that actually lived in New York are like, oh, it's so cheap. I mean, I paid, double for less. And I was like, great, then you can pay that.
Triple tax.
That triple tax.
And then natives, we don't pay. Because we're paying state tax already, right?
Yeah, my boyfriend's a native, and there were a lot of grumblings yesterday. And I was like, I feel like I've been here for 10 years, so I'm not going to take this personally. You're not talking about me.
Well, I mean, I guess technically I'm not a native. I was born in California, but I'm a cognitive native. We moved here when I was 1. I only have cognitive memories of Colorado. So I'm a cognitive native. And
you have that like at the ready anytime someone tells you.
Listen, motherfucker. Cognitive native.
Cognitively speaking.
Look at my tattoo. I just pull out the back sleeve. It's like a
full bumper sticker native just across the shoulders.
For Jesus. This is my nativity scene. Cognitive native of Colorado.
Trademark.
Bong rips for Jesus at the bottom. It's a full back piece. What, you don't like it, Mom? Oh, she'd be terrified.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. My mom hates my tattoos, but I don't care.
How young were you when you got your first? She hated when I got this
18.
one.
18. Yeah, I actually hid my tattoos from my parents for a very long time, to the point that like I had half sleeves and my collarbone done before they knew, because I only saw them once a year at Christmas, so I would just wear a sweater. And then my sister had the fucking audacity to get engaged, and so
the audacity.
Like, okay, true love, like this is about me. And I was sending her, she asked me to be the maid of honor, and I was sending her like these long sleeve dresses that I found that were like formal, but she had like a very strict color palette she had in mind, and I was sending her like the tackiest shit. And she eventually was like, Christina, like, I don't give a shit. This is a dress you're wearing. It's going to show your tattoos. You just need to tell mom and dad. And so I did. And it was just a very like 0 to 60 of like, it wasn't like I have a tattoo. It was like I'm tattooed. So
how many do you have? Or how many did you have when you had to tell them? Like more than 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like, because it gets to a point where if you have enough, like I have like 2 sleeves, and I just more dedicated to like thinking about like the times of trauma in my life, of like where I can think of like experiences and like times in my life of when I got them. But yeah, it kind of melts together as far as like counting how many you have. But I'd say maybe like 15 at the time, maybe 15 or 20.
Wow. Were they pretty quick to flip around to acceptance and love? Like, so was your worry manufactured in your head?
No, it was very real.
It was very real.
It was very real. I thought my dad would, I told my mom to like kind of ease it into telling my dad. And because I thought that my dad would have a harder time with it.
Okay. I'm just trying to think about how you ease that in.
I don't know. I was like, Ma, you tell him. Like,
Okay,
I don't fucking, like he was off the boat from Greece. So I was like, this is going to blow his mind.
Gotcha.
And he definitely got over it. Like when he got a little older, he would kind of, I think, forget that I had them. And so when he saw them, it would kind of startle him. But yeah, it's kind of one of those things where I'm like, I'm financially independent. Like there's nothing you can really like do. Like we're not that tight anyway. Like it's fine. We'll be fine.
Yeah. Damn. No, I remember that. I had so much worry myself about telling my mom I got this tattoo. And it was like, no, there's so much meaning and took so much time to work on it and design and whatever else. But it's like, no, it's still your parents who are going to be disappointed in you. And it's still going to feel just as heavy no matter what the disappointment is. Yeah.
And the shit they like tell you about like not below like like, you know, like just all these like random archaic like work rules of like, well, as long as you can't see it in like a work like shirt or something. And then eventually I got to a point where I was like, I'm never going to have a job where these rules matter. Like, and that's a lie. I did end up like, you know, being a manager at a tech company and they didn't give a shit. Like I got more and more tattoos and they didn't care. But now, especially since getting laid off, I'm like, knowing I'm never going back to that world, I'm like, okay, this wasn't just in my head. Like I was creating like this identity for someone who like I knew I would be forever.
Yeah, you're
like,
pushing into that like uncomfortable truth of yourself.
Yeah. I'm like, if I have to roll my sleeves up wherever I work, no one should care about this. And if they do, I don't want to work with them.
Well, I've started to come around to that with my speech and my ideals and like who I am of like, oh, I have a frontal lobe now. And like, oh, I might understand myself now a little bit. And if I become a lawyer and I never become a comic lawyer, I'm still going to be a comic in the fucking courtroom. I'm never going to be able to get this part. My grandpa that just died at 97 was a comic. He was a foreman at Alco for 45 years. He could have been a stand-up if he chose a different path.
Sure, yeah.
It's like, okay. It can acknowledge that and like accept that like, okay, people around me are going to have some negative externality or dealing with this problem. I'm going to have to also learn how to reel this in. Like sometimes I might not say that word that's really the funniest thing I could say. I should say the third funniest thing.
Right.
It's a little bit more PC.
And it'll become more quick to be like knowing exactly like that'll be second nature to be like, I know how to edit this down in lifetime.
Well, and I've worked in a small office, so I've started to I feel out the line. And I also can start, when you're in a small office, you can kind of draw the line. You can be like, this is the line. Yeah. No, this is acceptable. And here's why.
This is who I am.
I'll back up why the joke is reasonable.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's perfectly fine.
It's offensive on its head, but here, look at this backing.
I also just like, I love other people's parents. Like it was just something of like growing up, my sister and I always had like other moms.
Yes.
And I great with parents and I don't cuss.
That's funny. I don't
swear. Even saying the word cuss, I want to kill myself. But like I just know like how to navigate the different audiences of like, I know
you can be a chameleon.
I know the mom and dad jokes that work that like my boyfriend last night at dinner, his dad was like, oh, I forgot my hearing aids, just so you know. And I was like, what? And it was like, I knew it coming out of my mouth. It was silly. It was dumb.
But
it wasn't really that funny.
Silly.
But they fucking lost it. And his mom was like, the comedian. I was like, I didn't need to say that, but I knew the kind of like knee-jerk dad joke I could say to just kind of like, you know, and that's
honestly,
fun for me.
And honestly, not only, here's my argument around this whole thing of someone that is a purist of like, Dad, you shouldn't do that's hack and stupid and like lowbrow, whatever. Are you spreading joy? I'm sorry. Did you spread joy? Were
Who
the
hurt
people
you?
that hurt like yes? Turn the mirror on background.
It's like you're not a fun hang. Like outside of comics. Like you're
honestly, like really turn the mirror around. Like these people, the parents were very overjoyed. At this stupid, silly joke.
Like I did like a Q&A style comedy show in Sterling, Colorado, like 2 weeks ago. Totally thought they were gonna hate me because it's just so conservative and you do 10 minutes on the top. So I was like trying the abortion stuff and I would make a joke of it and be like, you know, sometimes you just gotta try the abortion joke in Sterling, Colorado. But like by the end of it, I was making a lot of jokes about like DUIs and stuff. And by the end of it, I was clearly drinking on stage. And this woman and her 2 daughters, who I kind of connected with in the Q&A, like came up and was like, you can stay at my place like tonight if you want. And I was just like, thank you. Like, my boyfriend's driving. Like, don't worry. Like, I'm not driving 2.5 hours drunk. But it was just sweet. I was like, yeah, okay. Like, these are still people. And I think ultimately a lot of the feedback I got when I first started comedy was people saying, oh, it seems like you've been doing it a lot longer. Like, I was way more nervous when I was, a year in, and I have been performing my whole life. It's like between, like my mom was an alcoholic. It was like between trying to get her attention. I had narcissistic parents. It's like I was always trying to just be liked, and then
and break tension. It sounds like too.
And break tension. So it was always like comedy as a deflection, and that just followed me. And then I was in the service industry for a really long time. So you're performing for tips. You're like, let me say the jokes, let me say the things so I can get the literal monetary like validation that was a good interaction. And so, yeah, it took a while to be like, no, I wanted to do comedy for 8 years before I actually pulled the trigger, because I was like, you can't.
Did you write during those 8 years?
Not really. No, I think
Did you consume it? Did you sponge?
I consumed a lot. And I also think that I was low key like,
background
experiences
learning?
I had, I think were kind of, because I'm a storyteller more than anything. So I think if anything, I was doing things for the story without even thinking about it, like letting a homeless woman sleep in my house. It was like, even though I was drunk when I made the decision, I think there was a part of me that was like, this will be a fun story and you're helping this woman out, like whatever. And then, lo and behold, fast forward 5 years and I'm writing a joke about it. So I just had to find a way to put it into a joke. But I think I've been just collecting experiences like, yeah, there's something more
like living
to where
a
these
full
are
life.
Supposed to go. Yeah.
Right,
exactly.
Like living a full life. Yeah. And I think that's something where if you wanted to be a comic early, like say you were 16 and you wanted to be or say you're 18, and you want to be a comic, and you can go to clubs. There's an 18 club in your town that you have. And you start right away. As soon as you discover comedy, you think you want to do it. That's a lot different than I'm in an uncomfortable environment and family situation growing up, and I love comedy as a tool to get through the day. And also now I've lived a life. Shoot, maybe I could write a joke. Mm-hmm. Now I'm trying it. Now I have confidence in myself because I've lived. It's different. There's just no one path, and it's fun to see that there's so many ways that people can find happiness in a creative process of comedy.
Yeah, I think that's something I noticed when I first started, and just doing, the first thing I did was do everything that everyone around me was doing. And so that was going to multiple mics a night, going every night of the week, and was just like, this is what you do. And I completely credit a lot of that for like getting better quicker, because the discomfort of like being only in a room full of comics who have only heard your jokes. They don't give a flying fuck. You're basically talking to no one.
No one.
And then, just if you bomb, or like just getting all that stuff kind of out of the way early, I do think was great for me personally, because I just still had anxiety on stage. But I also noticed, especially with one-liner comics, how much reliance there is on the wording. And like if one word is wrong, then like the whole joke can bomb. Like you needed that exact setup and those exact words. And I have the kind of stuff where, yeah, I'll say it enough and I'll realize like what's a better tag or what word is funniest, but I'll still get a laugh
regardless,
like
because the story,
as long as the energy that I brought was the same. And so I kind of like,
that's cool.
Took a little of the pressure off. And I mean, I just wrote a new tag. I just riffed a new tag for a joke I've been saying for like a year, like at a show on Thursday. And I was just like, okay, I think I'm going to do that now. And it's just from saying it all the time and just being like, not so married to the fact that like it has to be that one word. Like, you just tried something else and then it worked. So
yeah. And so that like freedom and liberty in the craft is because of how you came into the craft.
Right. And I think that's also why it makes it like on stage, I'm looser and I can, I don't do crowd work, but I can, and I think a lot of comics do. This isn't unique to me, but just kind of like pulling them in for 1 second. Like if you're just like right glasses or like right, but like, just like I'll say a joke of like, I took self-defense classes because it's a little sketchy out there right now for women. Am I right, mustache? Like, just shit like that, where it's like, you're you could really say it to anyone in the crowd and they're going to feel like it's for them.
Yeah, it's a tool that you have in your quiver, but to them it feels like a unique interaction meant for them.
Yeah. And even like callbacks to other jokes from comics on the lineup, like I think you do need a certain fluidity and a certain like comfort in yourself to be like, oh, if I try that, that's me trying it. That's not, because if you have a persona on stage where you're like, I'm like the stoic bitch, and I love all of these personas. I just could never do it because I was like, if I'm doing this, this is just how it is. But if you have a persona, you might not be able to do that as much. It's like, let me say the jokes that I wrote, that I know work. And if like someone heckles, I'm just going to talk through it because I don't know how to make something quick. Like, I don't know how to make a quick remark and get back kind of thing.
Right.
So I don't think I would change how I've chosen to approach comedy by any means.
That's fantastic. And how long have you been doing it now?
Almost 2 years.
Fantastic. Mm-hmm. And you started here, obviously. Mm-hmm. You grew up here?
I grew up in Connecticut.
In Connecticut. Mm-hmm. That's right. You said near New York.
Like, right. So I was in like a suburb outside of Connecticut where all of the parents that worked in Manhattan would commute from. So I was very used to going into New York City and all of that. So southern Connecticut, not like the woods of Connecticut. Like Yankees country, not Red Sox.
Okay. And it's just a highway in between other states, right? As I've heard so many people talk about Connecticut. I've never been, that's the one part of the country that I really haven't explored. The Western, I've done all the exploring, but that part of the country, I don't know that much about.
I thought it was stuff. It's just kind of nutty because I went to school in New Hampshire, and so it would take 3 hours to get through all of Connecticut, Massachusetts, and then get into New Hampshire.
Okay.
Here, you drive 3 hours, you're like in Vail or like Aspen, and that tripped me out the most when I first moved out here was like just how fucking big it was because it's just not the same.
So growing up with that density, did that affect how you viewed other people, you think, at all?
I mean, I loved seeing like entirely different types of people. Like, I mean, I will be honest, mostly white still, but just different types of whites. And they just
little
like
flavor on the white.
Yeah. Like, in New Hampshire, it was like I worked at a dive bar. And so you had the people that were like Jim would drink Heinekens in his truck, like when he got off the shipyard, but like before I opened the bar. And I'm like, all right, Jim, you can come in now. And like those, and they were just very sweet. Like I was such a cunt growing up, like just having like New York as it was like perfectionism and just work. I mean, my dad was an immigrant, so it was like, also very much just work very hard. And
so you doubled down on the American ideals.
I mean, I guess I definitely went against them and was like, fuck this, I hate school and I hate like all of this. Like, it was just.
Were you good in school? I mean, you seem like a smart person to me.
I think I'm more like, I feel like I'm just a better bullshitter. Like,
okay. Do you like learning?
I do now. And I think I always did, but I just didn't like having to learn about things that I didn't want to learn about.
You didn't like the Rockefeller and education system that had been implemented in the early 1900s.
Right. Industrial Revolution.
Meant to cog us into manufacturing jobs in factories. Yes, correct. Yeah.
Assembly line.
I mean, high fluorescent light, low sunlight,
Yeah.
Bells,
None of that.
Yeah.
None of that.
Rigid orientation and schedule. Yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't a fan of that. Almost didn't graduate because I didn't go to enough classes.
Okay.
But,
what were you skipping school to do?
I just like go to the beach and like drink and like we would drink, smoke cigarettes. Like just
the way you said that, we just go to the beach.
Oh, that was the cool thing about growing up with the beach was like everything happened at the beach. Like growing up, you were always at the beach. Once you got to that shitty like age as teenagers, it was like your parents were kind of like, well, as long as we know they're just at the beach, like like we would still drink and be little shits, but there would be cops coming around like, stop, like chasing your 99 bananas with ocean water,
Right.
It's just like, okay, but
so that's the mountains for us because grew up outside of Boulder, like one exit in Louisville, Superior, and so it was like, we go up to the hills.
Yeah, if you know, I feel
Mountain
like you're still contained, like in some sort of way. Like your parents still kind of know where you are, and then. And
I mean, there's just a lot of whites around, right? So your parents, for some reason, feel like it's comfortable, even if we did grow. How old are you?
34.
Okay, so you're a little older than I am.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you had a different experience, especially on the East Coast. But for me, we had a very safe community. And so there was this like kind of egotistical arrogance around our kids are fine. They're safe. They're in a safe place.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so many parents who maybe were a little more hands off, their kids just could do whatever the fuck kind of trouble they want to get into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think like my parents didn't really like tend to care like where I was. And so it was just kind of like we would take the train into Manhattan and be like, oh yeah, I'm at Susie's house. But we were like, there's
how like young were you when you learned to take the train into the city by yourself?
Oh,
to me, that's like
so like
terrifying.
11. Like
wow.
when I would visit my aunt lives in the DC area, and I wanted to go see one of her friends who was an art teacher, and I took 2 buses. And I was like 13. I took like 2 buses. This is one of my aunt's like favorite stories. I took 2 buses to like get to this school just to see my aunt's friend. And I spoke Spanish at the time, and I was like telling her how I was just like, yo puedo estar en este autobús también. Like I was just like saying like, I can be on this bus too. Cause like it was all people just looking at me. And I was just like, no, I want to go see Joni at art school. And
that is really cute. Honestly, that makes my heart go. That's really cute story.
She was a Spanish teacher. That's why she loves it too. But it's
because you were using your Spanish.
Because I was using my Spanish. But yeah, so I just never shied away from public transit. And then yeah, as we got older, we would just take the train, still lie about going to the city because our parents wouldn't want us to. I mean, during the day we could, but at night it was like, no. And there was a time we were 16 and we went to a foam party. Do you know? Is
that like a Diddy party?
It's
come on.
It's a foam freak off.
These jokes are only going to be good until he kills himself.
Correct.
Come on. They put him in. I've seen a few comics do jokes about how he's in the same prison as Epstein.
Is he? I didn't even know.
I don't even know if he is, but I think it's just a joke. But it's good stuff. I mean it up.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how that pans out. But we would go. So it was literally
just don't let him take the pan out. You know what I'm saying? I guess his cellmate. Don't let his cellmate take the pan out. Before we continue with this great New York story, I do have to flip these chicken wings, and I don't want to cut off your mid-story. So we're going to come back with 13-year-olds. 16-year-olds and public transit
and
to Manhattan and foam parties and probably not Diddy because I don't think she got invited there.
I sure didn't.
We'll be right back. We're back. We're live. The wings are flipped and we're coming along. You said opening a can sounds really cool.
Like when I can hear myself and hear like, oh,
it's so cool. We put it on the soundboard.
Was that me?
No, I wish.
Oh, it sounded just like mine.
God bless the USA. What?
Come on, Grandpa. Don't ask why we bless the USA.
Oh my gosh.
Come sit down.
Well, we're back and we're ready to hear the story about the big city, the Big Apple.
Big Apple. I mean, it's more just a testament to how fucking stupid we were. But it's not even that epic. But they had these things that were like 18 and over parties, and they were foam parties. So basically, you're in a club, but they started pumping foam into it. So you would like typically wear like
suggestive.
Like people typically took their clothes off, like, you know, wearing like a bathing suit, but like you kind of forget like sometimes. So then they're just girls in bras, whatever, just typical stuff. And
typical hoe shit. Let's go.
Typical like just suburban
greatest
girls
country on earth
in
type
the US.
shit.
And like we would get into bars just from like making out with each other. It was like the bouncer would be like, okay, like, that was kind of hot. All right, and we're 16. But
the bouncer Diddy? Sorry.
Truly though, you would think like at that time, but
yikes.
We're outside. So
what year is this when you're near? Let's try.
I'd say it was like 2000.
I really like to paint the picture.
Maybe like 2006.
Oh.
Yeah.
This was one of the best eras of America.
Yeah. I was a fan. Like I was like, I could never grow up in this era. But like we go outside the club, and for some reason there's a news crew there. I guess they like wanted to like ask people about whatever. And I was like, okay, obviously we can't. They asked us to be on it, and we were like, obviously not. We lied and said we were at Susie's house back in like Westport. So we were like, no, we're not going to do this. And we blinked twice, and our friend Lauren she was kind of had this energy about her where like she always wanted to be famous. So like it was a lot. And she we look, there she is talking to the news crew. She's giving it all, like giving it her all. Like, yeah, I was just dancing. I just was dancing in there. And we're like, oh my fucking God. And she comes over and we're like, Lauren, what the fuck? Like we can't be on the news.
The whole thing.
And she was like, it's okay. It's okay. I told them my name was Heidi. I was like, it's a fucking...
As long as the parents don't see this news.
It's a video broadcast, you dumb fuck. And obviously, lo and behold, like our one of our parents' mom, like one of our friends' moms saw it.
Oh.
And she told everyone.
A tight-knit friend group, so they knew that everybody was there.
Yeah, so there were 4 of us. And she was like, I told everyone's parents, but like, I'm not going to tell yours, because she knew that they would like beat the shit out of me. So she was like, but just know that I know.
That's mercy.
What you did. And I was like, yeah.
The mom said that to you?
And I was like, wow. Okay. I was like, okay. And at that time I was like, yeah, you know what I did. Big deal. Like you didn't do anything else with it. So great. But yeah, that was just the kind of stuff that like we just like didn't think about. And I feel like, especially with being so inspired to teach like personal safety to young women, there's so much of it is rooted in me being talking to younger me.
Yeah. Being that 16-year-old with your chest puffed out, like not
being
scared
bitch,
of the world at all.
Yeah. Like the things that I did, I was just like, And
you probably got away with a lot of it because you carried yourself as you are.
Yeah.
So to pass that along to someone else is invaluable.
That, but also that shit doesn't fly anymore. Like we would visit a friend at NYU and like get in a white van to buy Coke, and they would do like a lap around the university, and then we'd get out and like
for real.
Yeah. Like,
wow.
Not on the regular, but like,
no. I wasn't saying like that. But like that's
those types of things. I'm like,
you probably can't do that now.
I mean, I don't think you could do it then too. I'm just glad I survived.
Right.
But it's like, I don't know. The older you get and the more you realize like the just pure like grossness that can exist in people, like I'm sorry men, but like especially men, it's like it really makes you look at things differently, and you just think you're so fucking invincible. And especially with the way girls like tag themselves in like live time, like, you know, it's like I couldn't imagine if like I had a guy that was like weirdly obsessed with me in college. If I was geotagging everywhere that I was, like I would have been easy bait for him, because he would have been looking at my story being like, oh, she's at this bar, I'll go.
Right.
But I didn't have social media. So
and people don't even think that they should be thinking about this.
It's like you just, yeah.
I mean, it's to the point where my fiance is on my Instagram. Like
she's what?
Not on my Instagram, not on my private Instagram. Mm-hmm. And this is something that we've made this is the right path for us, because you're in a field with people that you're trying to help that have deep mental troubles and are even more of a risk. Mm-hmm. So if I want to pursue anything with any type of YouTube videos or entertainment or stand-up, like we just have to figure out how to work this.
Yeah. And I think
that's scary too, because it's like, oh shit, could I do something? Could I be living my richest, fullest humanhood life and that affect the person I love most? I sure fucking hope not. Yeah. But it probably is going to come at some point to where like...
At some point, yeah. Like even if it's like a patient, I mean, I don't know what she does, but it sounds like she has patience. Like if like a patient like saw you two out and like they had like created this idea of her in their minds of being this single woman who, you know, it's like, and then they're just shattered by the idea of like seeing her with and I think about that with comedy too. I mean, like I posted on my story about my boyfriend, but that's more like my own shit of being like, I feel like I'm going to need to be with someone for like 10 years before I'm like confident enough to be like, and I won't need to delete this picture. But, so that's different. But I think even posting.
And your parents are still together, right?
Well, my dad died last year, but they were together. They shouldn't have been, but.
Interesting. Because I come from the other side. My parents got divorced at 8 and, you know, lots of turmoil around family business with my mom and my stepdad was part of that and things like
that.
But, you know, I'm grateful for the hardship that it was now. And I probably, you know, look back and like, oh, shoot, it'd be terrible if they would have stuck it out.
So I'm on the flip side of that.
So when I hear the flip side of this, I'm like, oh, I should be grateful.
Yeah. Like my mom would like get drunk and be like, you're the reason your dad and I are getting divorced. And then it's like, wake up, they're still together. And like they both said shit about each other. And
do you have siblings?
I have an older sister.
Okay.
But this kind of got worse when she went to college because she was the favorite. And so like when I was kind of the problem child and neither of them wanted to parent, it became like this, like they were like, pick one of these two brochures, we're sending you to military school. And I was like, and luckily they didn't end up doing that, but it was
high
like,
school?
yeah, but they just kind of like opted out. Because when I really reflect on it, like, I was like thinking for so long that I was like the worst fucking kid, especially because my mom's an alcoholic and you're like,
you always think
why
that's
am
your
I?
fault.
Yeah. But
absolutely.
like, I think back and I'm like, I was being a fucking teenager. Like, I've had, like, you know, it's just kind of, I held this on me for so long, being like, God, I'm the worst person. But you look back on it and you're like, God damn it, lady. Like, I came home drunk one time. Like, what? Like, and that was enough for you to be like, I can't take this anymore.
Well, it's
like,
a spectrum, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of things. I think, you know, you experiencing the life you're in, your spectrum was you to your sister. So my spectrum was me to my younger sister, who very good Christian girl, was in youth group leader in high school for middle schoolers, like hasn't done drugs. I, you know, got good grades, but started smoking marijuana, got a medical marijuana card, blah, blah, blah. And so I felt like I was way over here on the spectrum and she's way over here and I'm a failure. But it's like, no. Re-spectrumize across re-spectrumize across the whole population. It's like, no, we were just being fucking probably pretty good teenagers.
Yeah. And I actually told my sister, like, my sister and I weren't close growing up, but like once she left for college, I was like,
how much older is she? Sorry to interrupt you.
Like, she's only like 2 years.
Okay.
So we're still
that's the same interval with us, but she's younger.
Yeah. And it's just kind of like, I don't know. The second she went away to college, I was like, why did you leave me with this? Like, I didn't realize how bad it was, like, just on my own. And
is that because it all came kind of back on you, like you said?
It kind of just, but also with the drinking stuff, she was like, Christina, just stop being such a fucking idiot. Like, I drank in high school. I just never got caught. You're just like a little extra. And I was like, okay, well, fair. Like, I was kind of like acting out in a way where I was getting myself caught, whereas she was... Because
you were doing the going back to earlier, the attention seeking.
Yeah.
Right.
So she always avoided everything. So that's why I went to school in Virginia. And then my aunt, who we're very close with, she was like, she's my godmother. She's like our mom, basically. And she lives in Alexandria, Virginia. So my sister moved in with her after college because DC was the city where everyone from Virginia went to work after. So she never really came back to Connecticut or like any of that. And so she just kind of avoided.
Is she still in Virginia?
No, now she's in Rhode Island. She lived in California for a few years, met her husband, and then Chicago.
Shouts out. I don't even know her name, but you sound like cool.
She's the best.
Cool
I fucking love my sister. Like we're wicked tight now. We just weren't growing up. But
what does she do for work?
She owns her own little like marketing thing for small businesses. Yeah,
you're a small business.
I know, like manage my shit.
What the hell?
But she's like, maybe like make an Instagram account first and give me something to manage. Like do something.
Wow.
So I'm like her. No, but she gives great advice. But
good for her.
Yeah, she just
But that's hard because you were left behind in this kind of like void that she left.
Yeah, and for a long time, like even she was like, you're being dramatic. You're being like cool it. And I realize now, like, because I was diagnosed with ADHD late in life, which most women are. So this was like 3 years ago. I realize there's things like with ADHD, you get really excited about talking about something. So you might like talk a million miles a minute or talk more loudly. And both her and my dad, when I would be talking about something, would be like, shh. Like they would do this like shushing thing to me, like in the middle of something where what I'm learning now was something I was very passionate about. So when you cock block me right in the middle of it, I shut down. Like, because we have like this rejection sensitivity as people with ADHD.
Unfortunate how aligned Christina and I are.
And I'm just
like learning more about myself through this episode.
And then I'm like, I don't want to fucking keep talking then. And it's like, I'm trying to write a joke about how like when you're like screaming at the top of your lungs to a song and then the GPS is like, go left. And you're like, it's like the best part of the song.
This is the hit.
And
This
then
is
I'm
the
like,
chorus.
well, now I don't want to sing it anymore. Like you just cock block like I was at the best part of it, and then you shut it down to give me a direction. And I was like, why am I so affected by this?
I don't know why my brain goes to like, it would be a good act out with the song Tonight by Fun. Like, tonight, turn left in 3 miles.
I'm like,
We are young.
Yeah,
You can have that. Take that.
So
try it. See if it works.
But I realize now, like, that's why I would hate it so much, because now I like turn off the thing that says the directions. I just look at it. I'm like, why did I hate that so much? And
This show is all about really extended metaphors, so you're perfect for the show. This is so good.
I'm like, and that's what it is.
So
like,
you just turned off the GPS.
Yeah, I was like, I'm sick of you dadding me or like sistering me. And because my sister absorbed what, like, she took it as like everything was, don't draw attention to yourself. Don't like, and drawing a bigger conclusion there is like my dad being from Greece. It was like, he moved straight to New York, and it was like, we never learned Greek. And you realize with a lot of first gen, like kids, the parent wants to be American. They're doing everything to prove to this country that they are an American. Fuck their country. I mean, they have pride, but they don't show it because they're like,
they want to have
I'm
pride in the
working
country
hard
here
to be here and be a citizen. So he wanted us to have the same feeling. So I'm not pissed about it anymore. But initially I was like, what the fuck? Like, we don't know much about this heritage.
That's just because the Rockefeller education system told you that you were bad because you didn't know about your heritage.
Right.
And that just made you a better cog. So really, truly, that's just a failure
on
of the
the
education
assembly
system.
line. Yes.
Yeah. Because if you think about how good like the cultural heritage of your Greek blood is, you might not make the cog as well as you could in time. Your output might decrease by 3%.
Sure.
And the bottom line's impact can't take that, Christina.
My dad knew that too.
Smart guy.
Because he's Greek. And if you see my Big Fat Greek Wedding, he was very much like that, of like always telling you like where a, like word came from, or like all of that. Like he was still very vocal about it. And we celebrated Greek Easter. We went to Greece every year because he still has family there. So we still knew it, but just, I think the language piece was like, that would be too much. It would be like,
But for you, that felt like a foundational part of being of that culture.
Well, at the time I was like a shithead kid, so I didn't care. It's like kind of like not until you're older that you're like, oh, it would be really cool to know how to communicate with my godmother, who's like loves me so much, but we kind of just love each other on a feeling and can like be around each other, but can't. Like I can speak very minimally, but.
Well, I have good news for you. Truly.
So
actually,
sponsored by Duolingo?
It's not. Duolingo's lunch is actually getting eaten by my next sponsor for the show. No, they're not. We don't have any sponsors. But ChatGPT just came out with the new language learning part of their AI, large language model. So you can talk to your phone. You can be like, hey, I'm an American speaker. My godmother is from Greece. I'd like to be able to communicate a little bit better with her to build our connection. And it will talk to you in English and be like, all right, I'm going to start teaching you some phrases and things that you might be able to use with this.
That's very interesting.
So just check that out. Might be a possibility of a way that if before a trip, if you had a month of like practicing or whatever, you could.
Yeah, that's great to know. Because my mom is taking my dad to like his tomb in Greece this month, mid-October. And we couldn't go. Like my sister and I couldn't afford it, and she also has like a young kid. But we know we're gonna go like eventually to see him. But he's in a tomb with like his mom, dad, and grandparents. And my mom sent me a picture of the tomb, and I was like, I don't even know what the fuck that says. Like the letters, like I was like, you're telling me it, and so I know it to be true. But when I go, I will need to be able to speak Greek and read the alphabet to know what this says. Like it doesn't feel right to not be able to.
Well, and that's another thing you could tell the AI. Unfortunately, this is why AI is going to eat humans' lunch, because humans aren't willing to go through the uncomfortability of me coming, hey, come on my podcast, come talk to me, connect. This is a tough thing for people to do now.
Sure.
And so because of this, we're going to get eaten alive by this AI. Is like, you go, hey, I want to visit my dad's tomb and I want to be able to read the fucking tomb. So help me do this. And it will help you do that.
That's great to know. And
scary too.
There's a lot that I'm not touching like AI with. And it's funny, like I remember seeing like I watched a lot of daytime television in my unemployed life, and there's this segment on one of the like the Today Show or something where they'll talk about like what occupations are looking to hire, like just kind of being like. And
I lived with my grandma after the COVID graduation era, and for a few. So I had a few work at home days where I saw this segment of the Today Show. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, grew up with the Today Show.
These industries are booming and hiring. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so this one was like sales. It was saying sales. I think HR. I don't remember the three, but they were. As I'm looking at them, I'm like, these are all human-based skills. And it's crazy because I feel bad that there are all these people watching this like being like, oh, I'm going to get replaced by AI. I need to learn human skills, because that's at least the one thing I have. Like I was like a born salesman. I've been selling people on me for my whole life. And then, I mean, even as a kid, I wouldn't sleep at night and I would watch infomercials, and then I would get so obsessed with the product.
Do you have a favorite?
Well, the Miracle Blade was like my favorite.
Do you have a favorite spokesman, not product? Like, do you have a favorite person? All of them die in weird ways.
Yeah.
This is a fun conspiracy theory that hurts no one. If you do infomercials for long enough, you will die in a weird way.
I forget.
Every single one of them. Look it up. I'm serious. Do some research. They all die in weird ways.
Billy Mays was, he was a cokehead, and like and it makes sense too. It's like, who would be that excited? But
about pads and shit that cleans stuff up. Come on.
But there was this woman who I don't even remember the product. But she's this old lady with like this crazy, like full, like red hair that's like thinning out. And it was like this, it looked like a waffle maker, but allegedly wasn't. They were like reinventing it as something else. And she was just showing all the things you could make in it. And it would have this like funky little spatula. And she was like, you can make an omelet. And look, I'm going to put 2 chicken breasts in here. Look at this. Look at this. And it was hilarious. I was like, this woman is intoxicating.
Yes. But
you can
see why old people without brains anymore get addicted to it, right?
Right. And I could already see through the bullshit, and I was like, Diane, that's a waffle maker. But
come on, Diane.
I was like, the way that you just put lipstick on a pig is crazy. Like, that is like, I'm on to you. But the Miracle Blades, this guy, I always remember, and I don't forget his name, but he would slice a tomato so thin and then push it out in a line. Oh. And I was just like, those are the best.
It was ASMR of marketing.
Yeah. And my mom still has those Miracle Blades. Like, which is ridiculous. They don't work. They're not sharp. Like, you couldn't sharpen them, which is also a smart hack to be like, you can't even sharpen these. You're going to have to just buy a whole new set. But I must have sold her on these like, early 2000s. And those are still her knives. So it was just something that I was obsessed with. There was this weird, like, it's called I forgot what it was some exercise thing. I sold them on that too. I was like, sit down. And just basically re-pitch the pitch to them and why
that's fun.
The money made sense. It was like the 2 payments of $19.95 would pay itself off.
Yes.
But yeah, it was just, that was always something interesting to me. So I don't know, just, it was interesting going back to the ChatGPT thing of just,
to see that humanhood is important again.
I did have that moment of gratitude where like, it was right that I wasn't having these fears that other people were having about their jobs being taken. Cause like, I have something that a lot of people are struggling to be like, oh, let me learn how to be a human.
Well, I also firmly believe this as someone, my background is in economics. So I studied as a triple major, thought I was going to go to law school, triple major, double minor, did way too much at a small private school, economics, business, pre-law, religion, philosophy minors.
Holy.
Student government, student body treasurer, all the shit. Fucking really wanted to go to law school, thought that I had to do all this shit to try to get into law school. And then I had this weird fucking instinct feeling right as I was going to actually submit my applications, had done the test, had gotten the letters and all the shit. And I didn't. And then COVID hit 2 months later. And this has completely reformatted my life. And like, I still kind of want to go to law school, but now it's because I feel like systems are getting so inflated and fat that average people can't even go through life normally without upper tier levels of going through education or knowing someone that has a connection with the city council or they're a lawyer. Mm-hmm. They know how to navigate systems of power because the power just becomes more and more and more and more inflated throughout my life, at least. So
yeah,
and as someone that cares about free speech, in the art of comedy, where I see this going from an economist lens is, okay, what becomes more scarce becomes more valuable, right? What's going to become more scarce? People being, what can't the AI do? I've been trying to write a joke about this. Where does AI end? AI ends in Karen pulling up to get money out of the bank, and the banker going, all right, I got your ID here, got your credit card, all looks good. Because of these large language models, we are going to have to do a third step verification. I do see you in the drive-thru. You do look like a person, but I'm going to have you say the N-word. Karen's like, what? I can't do that. I'm sorry, man. This is the language models can't be bigoted. So this is what is there any other option? Sure, ma'am. You can say the F word. And she goes, well, my husband's not going to like that, but I guess I could do it. Fuck. Nice try, Karen.
Wrong F word.
We have a lot of people that come to this bank every day trying to make withdrawals and prove that they're people with that F word, but that's not the F word I'm looking for. And so what's going to become more scarce and valuable is people that can be people. People that can storytell, people that can demonstrate humanhood and connection with other people. Stand-ups, that art form is just foundationally that.
Well, even when they say, like, I mean, because I've seen what it can do with writing a joke, like, it's pretty nutty. Like, just like how it can, from the stance of who and from like whatever, it is pretty crazy. And it did spook me for one hot second. But then I was just like, okay, but let's talk about delivery now. Like, you need to know how to deliver that joke, how to have the right, like...
Ooh, see, like, I don't even think it's about making them laugh. I don't... So if it was like, the demonstration is whether the crowd laughs at the thing or not, and whether the large language model delivers it or a person delivers it, I don't think that that's it. I think what you make a career... If you really want to make a career...
Yes, like, I completely agree.
The only way you're doing that is you.
Right.
Like, people need to want to come see you. Right. And so the language model is never going to be able to be a you.
Exactly.
And that's where I think you can fall back on like okay, we're going to be fine.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point. And I think that that's, ultimately I get I can be kind of a bitch when it comes to like judging influencers. Because some of them, it really is so fucking cringe. Like, it's so cringe. And I'm just like I can't...
the boom people that ran out before, here's the boom people, the Costco guys?
No.
Oh my God, Christina. You want to cringe up. These guys, they just rate Costco cookies and chicken bakes and Costco products. And they've got a huge following and a whole career. And
are they likable?
Here's the sad part is you do a little research, you find out the dad has been a follower of Gary Vaynerchuk for like 20 years or whatever. And he tried to get viral 20 years ago. And now he's just kind of using his kids. Yeah. And one of the daughters used to be a son. It's like there's a whole lot of things wrapped up here, guys. This is not about a double chunk chocolate cookie.
Yeah. That's and that's the thing is like I mean, especially the parent influencers, like I cringe so hard at because it's just we're also finding out how many of them are fucking abusers. But it's just I think that's all to say that there's some random influencers I'll see, whether it's for skincare or whether it's for, something, but they're so goddamn likable. And I'm like, I'm happy that you had this platform to show people you have this skill, but you're also you. And when does that personality ever matter when you're talking about skincare except for now? So I have the few where I'm like, I get it. Like, you're very likable and you're talking about skincare. Like, this is the right platform for you. And I'm glad you're successful. I'm glad you have millions of followers.
But when it's cringe.
But for everyone,
there's 5.
There's 10,000 that, like, the thing that kills me is, like, you'll have, like, 900 followers and someone just trauma dumping in, like, the third post being like, I miscarried and then I found Jesus and then I became a drunk and just all. And it's like, girl, you have 500 followers. Like, if you think your story, like, everyone's story is important, but, like, I don't know, find a different vessel. Like, I think I think for me personally, I see like the self-defense classes. Like, I thought about going into speaking because I was like, I have a story. I have, leaving corporate America and like choosing not to go back and, just a lot about like, just my personal journey. But I didn't feel like I really had the right angle. And now with self-defense, it's like, yeah, 50% of it is the physical stuff. But the other 50% is empowering women and like telling them my story about like, have you ever had sex with a man because it felt safer than not? Like, things like that where it's like, yes, I got myself into that scenario, but in theory, I would have been able to leave when I said I wanted to leave. And because I felt this shift in energy, I was like, it's safer to just do this and you'll leave after. Like, so like you get what I'm saying? Like, it was just, these are the types of things that like I want to also speak about in these sessions where like you're empowering women to be like, you don't need, like, using your voice is actually very important. And like, you don't need to be in these scenarios. And so that's all to say that like, I think that there's a lot more avenues people can take than just social media. Like, obviously I know I'm going to have to do something with social media even with comedy. It's like, I haven't posted clips and shit, but it's just, I don't know. I hate it. So I think it's just an easy way out. I think there's a lot of ways. Corner.
I'm in a podcast. I've got 100. You're going to be 130 some episodes in, right?
That's wild. Yeah.
I don't post. I should be posting clips of every episode, right? It should be chopped up and easily dissectable for these people that have ostracized themselves into being able to. No, fuck you. The good parts of this shit is an hour in, and if you want to learn the cool things, if you like this growth that I've experienced through doing this show, talking to strangers, inviting them in my home, cooking, breaking bread with them.
Yeah.
It's open to fucking anyone that wants to learn from it.
Yeah.
Like I have learned from it.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna, it's not my job to like bite size it up into like digestible, like I already tried my best to encourage you to listen if you want, if someone's interesting. But like the social media aspect of like, that's how I need to get involved. I have to have someone else do that now. Because if that, I can't
takes so much time.
That's not, well, the time aside. Sure. That's not where I want my heart to be putting.
Right. Right.
That toxifies my heart.
I am the exact same way. Because I think, so right after I got laid off, my dad died 2 weeks later or 3 weeks. And it was I went and got a reading. Like, and I've never done this before and I'm not woo. But this woman...
Woo? Is that what you said?
Like woo, like we for like woo woo, okay. Like, but she read my chart and a lot of stuff she was saying was pretty rad and it felt like very in line with like, okay, like I could see that. And then she was like, you will need to use social media to be successful in your career. You will, and she didn't know. I mean, in my career, she didn't know I had gotten laid off. She didn't know I was in comedy, and so I was like. First of all, fuck you. You could say that about anything. You could say, like, if just some white bitch with tattoos walking into your little incense den, like you're like, she needs social media. She's got to be successful on social media. So I don't know how real that was, but I was just like, in what world when I think about these like old age, like women, like, reading beads and reading things, I'm like, did she ever think social media was going to be uttered out of her lips? Like, it was just, I was like, okay, even if you're saying it, like, fuck that. That's all the more reason that I'm like, no, I have been vehemently against it and I will continue to be because I personally, like I said before, I'm trying to take the channels to I just want to empower women and like speak to them and like be in front of them in person.
Well, I'm glad you have such good foundational ideals. Those will make a great clip.
This is gonna make a great clip. Follow me on
no, but I do have someone that's like, okay, they came from they're a little bit younger than me and they're like had a lens for social media back in high school. It's like, okay, and you also hate social media now, and it's like, okay, you want to take on this endeavor of trying to grow the pod or whatever through social media. Please try to help me because I don't want to do it, and I know that the more I lean into it, the more I push away from. I write the long form copy for back around episode 30. ChatGPT was getting better. I started feeding it my own episode descriptions saying like, hey, like tuning the model of like, hey, write as me. Like I can feed you my notes from an episode. So I do shorthand notes during editing and then you can write the copy. I did it for maybe like a couple. And then I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like the whole reason I'm writing is to get better at writing. Yeah. And I'm not writing anymore now. It's like, what are you doing?
It's coming from there's a producer that I've seen do that on a couple of shows. And I'm like, I know this isn't you. I'm like, just the way that like these words, I'm like, I know this. And that's interesting that you can like feed the notes and kind of train it to clearly he didn't do
like
that.
You. Yeah, no, you have to be you have to do the work to get it to write kind of like you.
But yeah, I think that those things are just, it's all to say that like, I think that the younger generation that has the propensity for it, I'm like, fuck it, do it. But you're also the ones that are ruined by the existence of it. So you pick your battle. If you want to, sure. I will welcome you in to help me because I personally, like,
That's
it's
what my
just-
dissertation was about. My undergraduate dissertation economics was about happiness economics.
yeah.
So I picked this study that was like super intersectional and woo-woo, which is not what I am either and not what I like to study. But I was like, this is important to me.
Yeah.
Read 100 and some pages, got to the end of it and was like, I want to just invalidate all this because we shouldn't be looking at a subjective thing like human happiness
Sure.
across all these metrics and blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
And it's like that arc of knowledge that I've talked about in a few recent episodes of like, you don't know what you don't know. You know what you don't know. You know what you know, and you don't, get to the stage where I don't think I know anymore. Like, I know so much
Yeah.
that I don't think I know anything.
Yeah. I mean, I've actually taken that lens. I was in sociology. I was a sociology major. And like, so it was just learning there was like pretty much a reason that everything is the way that it is. And just like through like, just, I don't know, all the systems in place and just human, but like coming to the conclusion that human connectedness is what's the most important through all of this, meaning I'm not going to prioritize social media. Like, I mean human connectedness as an in-person, like, and it's just...
That's the thing that with the pod too, people have been like, hey, you could get this guest on. I could hook you up with them. You could do a Zoom. I'm like, sorry, there's a hard rule in the line of like, the only reason the pod is worth anything is because I get to look you in the eyes.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only reason it's worth anything. And
it's the same with like Zoom therapy. It's like so many people are like,
how was telehealth? You let me know.
And I was one of those people where I was like, no, I need to like feel like the energy of the person like standing right in front of me. So but it's also like we have something to relate it back to. And you think about the younger generations, they don't even know what that is. So
good point.
They don't see what they're missing.
I mean, I probably don't know what it is as much as you do. Let's be fair. I'm 27.
Well,
I just turned 27,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
That 7-year difference, if we extend 7 years down, the difference between you to me to them is the full spectrum of humanity.
Yeah. And now they're like making phones that don't have all of those features. Like, and I just think it's so fucking funny because like even the way that the younger generation thinks that they're inventing things is mind-boggling to me. Whether it's trends or products, like the thing that holds the AirPods, I'm like, oh, you mean corded AirPods? You literally think you were breaking the world by like creating croquis? What is it? Corky? Croquis, the things you put on your sunglasses?
Oh, right.
They basically invented that for earbuds. And I was like,
for AirPods.
And I was like, those existed.
It's a thing.
Do you really like? Pretty much, I'm pretty sure that pretty much everything that could be invented has been, unless it's breaking technology and like really like going in a new area with AI or the tech space. I believe most products have been invented.
See, I think the thing that gets newer all the time is art because cultural lens, like the things that I've consumed in my 27 years is different than what you've been able to consume in your 34. Yeah. And so my lens of where I could go with art is different. And so that's always going to be evolving and changing.
But that's humans.
Yes.
And it can't be manufactured. It's not a product saying like, I invented this new thing. Art is different than what I'm talking about with like just...
So, yeah.
Like
I agree.
Product. Like just thinking that you created corded AirPods.
I have a very entrepreneurial mind. So I think I would
that's
think I'd sit in the other
that's why Shark
camp.
Tank's in its like
I think in
season.
the other camp of like, while that might be true for most of like, okay, 98% of stuff's been invented, right? The stuff that does continue to be new is additions to the improvements in the already invented things. So, for example, refrigeration technology changes. And so now we have all these new drinks we can make and all these new additives that have to be creative to add to the drinks to be made. And things like that. So that's kind of, get, I guess, a secondary, tertiary type of invention.
I agree. And also with like giving voices to marginalized communities, I think especially accessibility wise, like people give way more attention to that now.
Hey, I would love accessibility. I don't fit through doors. So I'm a marginalized community. 3 standard deviations of height through every door.
I mean, even my house, I joke with my roommate that it's like little people, big world, because I need a stool to get into like all these deep cabinets. And I'm like, in what era? Because it's an old house. I'm like, in what era were people able to reach into these deep ass cabinets? I need a stool to get into.
Right.
But yeah, I do see what you're saying. I think that there's plenty of room for improvement. And I do love Shark Tank. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. I think that was more just my gripe with
I also think
with
like
younger generations thinking they're inventing
you
things.
make a good point about the phone that's the dumb phone.
Yeah.
We had a door server at Commonwealth South that bought this phone for himself to help himself with his he wanted to wean himself off of apps and stuff, and like good on him for like being like, I don't really like how much I'm using this.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I could get this other phone and it just texts and reads and whatever. Cool.
Yeah.
But like that's a new demand. That's a new demand that didn't exist before because of new products and new cultural acceptance of social media. So that would have never been a product if people didn't mass adopt scrolling on their phones all day.
Oh, 100%. I just think it's funny because that phone existed when I was a kid.
Right.
Like I remember being
The
in Greece,
Motorola Razr
like
was my first phone.
when I was ever in Greece, like, you know, like as a kid, you're still annoyed to be wherever. I'm not like I'm in this beautiful country. Like, so they, you know, my Greek cousin would give me his Nokia phone that had Snake on it. And I would sit at the dinner and play Snake. And it was just like, so yeah, it wasn't frying my brain like a giant ass tablet in my face, but it's like, these things have existed and it's just funny. And I guess sad.
Maybe it's a
more
degree
sad.
question of like severity, because I think a black and white Snake on a Nokia not frying your brain nearly as quickly as the iPad and Cocomelon.
Yeah. Yep.
With Subway Surfer below. Like, you know?
Yeah.
So I do think we need to take a actual objective lens view of like, maybe 30 grams of sugar in a drink isn't too much. Maybe 30 hours of things in the 2 days is too much, right?
Yeah.
Maybe these wings are ready to eat.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll record an eating segment for this.
In an analog smoker.
So an analog smoker. If you want to check that out and check out any of the bonus content, head over to patreon.com/InTALLerable. All support just goes back to feed lovely guests like Christina.
I'm hungry.
And we're going to send you to break with some station identification. You're listening to 91.1. Oh shit, was that another plane? We'll be right back. We're back. We're live. And we're coordinating dog care.
We are.
And the fans, we need a wing review from you, Christina, whenever you are ready. We enjoyed some lovely wings today.
Yes, phenomenal. Great dry rub. Could have raw dogged them. Didn't need the sauce. But yeah, smoked wings are superior in general. So
you like the smoke?
Yeah, the smoke.
You've been grilling, great. You said.
I've been grilling, but I like the not need to flip them every 2 minutes. And I don't like anything smoked except like wings and meats. Like smoked cheese, just no. Lox.
You
like I can't do
smoked Gouda?
I've done it and I've hated it.
You just don't like it. Not a fan.
Smoked cheese, smoked fish.
Do you like cheese just on its own? Fish on its own?
Yeah. Just you add the smoke to it and it just sends me the other way. I don't know what it is.
That's interesting.
But wings all the way, for sure.
What do we give them out of 10? The typical scale.
I'll give them a 9.
Okay.
For sure. Great wings. Even you said it was a good batch.
It was a good batch.
Like
it's always a good batch when the producers aren't here because they miss out.
Oh.
It's like an unfortunate Murphy's kind of law rule, whatever.
Well, there's plenty of leftovers if they want them.
Come on down, boys. This will be out way too late for the wings will be long gone bad by now. By the time you're seeing this.
Taking a doggy bag.
And we did record a little bit of Patreon, so pop over there. Hopefully I will be able to catch up to Kurt and have that out for you all to enjoy. We talked a lot about comedy, inside joke comedy.
I was going to say a lot of inside baseball.
If you like inside baseball, Anders, check out that Patreon.
For sure.
Well, this is the after hours portion of the show.
Ooh.
Before I get you hided and out of here, sometimes this is where we get a little darker, deeper. If we wanted to get political, this is where we could get political.
Okay.
We do have an election coming up very soon. By the time this will be out, the election will be very imminent. Yeah. Any advice for a young person in America who, maybe like me, feels like it's the hope is quickly dwindling, like my vote might not matter as much as it used to, or like I was told it used to?
Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, well, okay. I would say that I don't know. It's hard when your life is kind of unaffected by which way it goes. And I think like you really have to think about just the people in your life and who it affects. Like I heard someone make a comment of like,
oh no, it's been affected by which way it goes for sure.
Well, yeah. And just like, I don't know. I like women, especially, I think like when men say that they're not political, this one woman said like that her boyfriend said, like, if it affects her, it affects me. And like, I care. And I think that goes for, friends, neighbors, anyone in your life where it's like, if you think that someone else would be wronged by like this decision, like just send it and like vote for that because if they're marginalized communities, there are also systems in place to stop them from their votes being as easy to cast so make that vote for someone who probably can't or is going to have a harder time doing it. And I think the one thing that I struggle with the younger generation, like Gen Z, they're really caught up on Gaza, and I fully am in the same arena as far as like it's really fucking especially with like the US being in Lebanon now. It's like, oh, because we didn't stop funding them and arming them, they're like, oh, we're good, like we're okay, we can keep doing this. So I do think it's royally fucked, but I think ultimately when people like call like Kamala a cop or like, oh, it's like all politicians are cops. Like we're voting for like the lesser of the evils, and like one of these days, I think we'll get back to candidates that actually are articulate and
wouldn't that be
like,
nice, boy?
like one of these days.
Ooh,
but it's
golly.
But it's just like we need to level out the playing field of like at least Kamala like reminded us what we were doing here, because like when it was Biden and Trump, we were looking at two like demented grandparents just being like talking about who would win a golf match, like who would like, it's like we're all watching their debates being like, what are we doing here?
Right.
Like you really are just going off of like who like you like more, and Trump is a charmer, so people are, I definitely think it was airing in his favor.
I do like Kamala's border policy of building a wall. That's really, I'm really on board with that policy. I think that would be effective if she can stop the immigration problem that has happened over the last 4 years or 8 years, however long it's been, where we've had like horrible global standards where people have needed a better place to go and they've fled like bad places and tried to come for better lives, and we haven't had a good immigration system to like get them here legally, so they seek out a better way. Mm-hmm. I do like that she wants to make us pay for it this time, though, instead of Mexico. I always thought that was unfair that Mexico was going to pay for it under Trump.
I'm going to be honest, that is a policy that I'm not familiar with. Like, I
was surprised by it too.
But if that is correct, then I think that sounds fair. But I think, and if we want to get really dark, like on just kind of like, well, not really dark,
yes,
but
dark,
as like from a female perspective, as a survivor of sexual assault, when even seeing this convicted like assailant like as like a very probable like a very like seeing him in a debate, just even seeing him talk, this is all very re-triggering. Like I couldn't watch the debates because like I'm watching this person just be allowed to be who he is and still be accepted like on the most grand of scales to potentially be our president. Like from the start when he was running before, and we knew all of this about him, and we heard the like grab her by the pussy, like we heard all the way that he talked about women. It's just very disheartening as a woman, especially if you're a survivor, to be like, why are we giving this person the time of day? Like to even say this is all excused and you can run our country. And a big reason, aside from the other reasons I was inspired to go into women's self-defense, was actually came from thinking there are going to be young women. If there's a Trump's America, this was before Kamala came onto the ticket. It was when it was still Biden, and I really felt like Trump was going to win, like, and he might still.
Kamala was on the ticket then, just to be clear.
Well, sorry. Okay, yes. But like, I just was feeling...
PSYOP really worked.
I was feeling very...
Really worked. The 2-week PSYOP of her first 2 weeks in office really did a great job. They completely forgot her entire 4 years of being a vice president. But continue, sorry. It's very frustrating.
True. That is true. But like, I started worrying like the way this could look for young women and women in general moving forward if our country condones and accepts him to reelect him. That siphons down into how young men speak about women, how they treat women. And now more than ever, like, women need to know that like they have the ability to say no and stand up for themselves. And like, because young white men are now very threatened by women because women are being told we can do whatever we want. that means if we're the breadwinner, if we're doing jobs that were usually male, like, dominant, men are not being given another, like, venue or, like, another, like, opportunity to strive for. They're still being told, you are the breadwinner, you are, like, they're not being given any other opportunities, whereas women can now do everything.
Well, and
Men
I
are
think I
still
go
being
one step
told-
further. They're being told they're bad, too.
And then because women are, like...
So on top of that, there is that, too.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with your points across the board.
And by not being taught the resilience to, like, not see women as, like, the, like, opponent, it's just kind of like, I do believe that the men that don't have the, you know, ability to pivot will just act out violently or, you know, just not know how to act. And all they know is that they're bigger and they're stronger. And that's what they have on us. So I do think that
They should get better at psychological manipulation. I agree.
Yeah.
Instead of using your fists, use your words. Tear these women down.
Yeah.
Tear these bitches to their core.
I mean, we know for a fact that it's harder for men to date now because they're being rejected more. Like, because women are realizing that they can say no.
Hey, turn up the risk, guys.
Yeah,
come on.
just grow some charm.
Be better. Just be better.
I'm sorry that, like, just being a guy that, like, kind of intimidated someone into dating you, like, isn't enough anymore. A woman can be like, actually, you kind of give me the ick. Like, I'm gonna not do this anymore.
Also,
like,
pro tip to guys: for every girl that doesn't like that, gets ick by it, there's another girl that's super attracted by it. So don't lose
100%.
hope. So again, to guys, don't think that you're in this void where you're never gonna get out. Pivot out of the void. Be productive member of society.
It's just the fact that they meet one woman,
yes,
and she doesn't like it, and then it's all women, and it's like, no. I'm not telling you to change as a person. I'm just saying
most people suck, men, women aside. Most people at most times suck.
Dating has always sucked, as like ever since it wasn't just like a societal
pay for play. Women
graduate with their MRS degree, like, you know, it's like yeah, you got to try a little, you got to court a little, you got to, like, everyone has options. It's just, even if you make a lot of money, that might not be the thing that impresses her because she makes her own money. So you have to get a personality. Like, it's just...
I grew up in a home with a mom that made the money, and my mom's the smartest, strongest woman I know, like, ever
phenomenal.
met. So
that's great. I think that those examples are great. I didn't have that example, and, like, I know it's a point of contention between me and my mom because she's like, how did you become this person that I had nothing to do with? And I'm like,
Mom, Oprah.
I'm like, you actually had a lot to do with it.
The Oprah Winfrey Show.
And I watched a lot of Oprah. To be honest, I really did. But I think that it's really just, everyone could be doing better. And I think that, you know, inherently people want things to be easy. But I mean,
I do think that to advance the causes that you're talking about for women, for marginalized communities, people should be more open to engaging in discourse. Because if we approach and actually talk about differences in perspective and ideals between white men, white women, people of color, young people, we'll understand a little bit more that we're all more aligned than we are led to believe by the giant psi operation around us.
Well, and also, like
truly, that's what I think. That's just my 2 cents.
No, and I give people the benefit of the D that, like, they will learn. They're down to learn. Like, don't hear someone's perspective and be like, oh, this is them and I've deemed them to be them. Like, you know, it's like... I
also loved this in college during my era of it's not my job to educate. Well, okay, but if I come and ask questions and want to learn, it shouldn't be your, like, goal to shut down and gatekeep either. That's not productive at all.
Yeah. And that makes me think about, do you know the podcast Man Enough?
I haven't heard of it. But
It's this guy, Justin Baldoni, and, like, this other guy, and they have this woman on it. And in the beginning, they have this clip where they're like, what makes... the guy asking the question is black, and he's like, what, just for the men out there, since we have you as a correspondent on this podcast, what makes you able to speak to men? And, like, this podcast is for men. Like, why are you able to be on this? Like, why are you an expert? And she was like, well, the same reason that, like, you can speak to whiteness better than I can. Like, it's like, we know about the oppressor more than, so, like, we've experienced it more, and therefore you can learn more from what we've felt that you've never felt. And
this is why I got good at political debating, because I grew up in a household that was relatively conservative, but I went to Boulder public schools from a young age. So I would come home.
Boulder,
I'd come home and I'd say, Mom, Dad, you guys are dumb. This is what I learned today. And then I'd go to the school next morning and be like, you guys are so it's dumb to think this. I mean, I just learned the truth last night. And then it'd be back and forth and back and forth. And this type of critical challenging of ideals separates yourself from your ideas. And you realize, fuck.
Yeah. And it's like my roommate, like, love them to death. They're male-bodied, but came out as non-binary like 3 years ago. And it took a lot for me to learn what that meant and where, like, and I definitely wanted to help our friend group recognize it, like, especially the men in the friend group were like struggling with the pronoun thing. And so I would just lightly talk about my roommate around them, but use the they, them pronouns. And then I started dating my boyfriend, and he hadn't experienced this. And I felt like been like, you know, friends with a non-binary person. And it's not that he was ever against the pronoun usage, but it was one of those, it's not affecting my day-to-day life. Like, do what you want to do, but I also don't ever need to really be affected by making a choice in that matter. And then they became great friends. And I was like, well, this is how this goes. And I explained it to my boyfriend, and he was very understanding. It was just, he didn't know.
Yeah.
So I didn't.
Well, I'm glad that you led with the humanhood of the person, and then it's very easy to get someone over a bound.
Yeah.
So if we, instead of, you know, putting up these walls and labels and boxes that we like to do to divide us as people, us, them mindset type of thing, modern America political mindset, let's just, I don't know, sit down to lunch, sit down to breakfast, and then we could be like, hey, by the way, don't know if you know, but like, I'm gay or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, after you guys have breakfast, not lead with, hey, I'm gay and my name, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
It's like, okay, whoa.
Exactly.
Because
it's
you're
like
not going to ever win over a bigot or someone with a different mindset if you don't approach first with your humanhood, not your identity.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, and that was something where I could have easily been like, oh, you don't know anything about this? You don't know anything? You've never educated yourself? Fuck you. I'm out. Like, because I will be honest, like, when in 2020, when everyone was like in their own heads, like I was in a long distance relationship with like a very toxic ex of like 8.5 years, but I was planning on like moving back east to be with him, even though I moved out here to get away from him. And he was a hockey coach. And I was like, what are you doing to teach your players about Black Lives Matter? Like, how are you like talking to them? And like, he was like, well, I guess I haven't brought it up. And I was like, well, you should, because, and I was chewing him out for the fact, because I was so like, we need to show our allyship. We need to show like everything. And I was horrible to him. It's like, he's a good guy. He's a bad boyfriend, but he's a good guy. And he is a great coach. And he definitely instills great values in his players. And
what the fuck did Black Lives Matter have to do with it?
Exactly. And I disregarded all of that because he wasn't choosing to, and
you brought it up.
And that wasn't the reason, we broke up, but like,
right.
I chose like a big fight to be had about, to make him feel small, to make him feel like, because I was projecting that I wasn't being vocal enough
in the rest of it.
And so, yeah, I feel like.
So you use BLM too, just like BLM used taxpayer dollars and stuff to buy houses. I mean, read the reports. It's come out.
Thing?
Yeah. They spent like $8 million, $10 million on houses in LA County. Yeah.
Holy shit.
The founders of it. Yeah.
I mean, I really just like.
Donate to causes you care about, folks.
Yeah, please. But that's all to say that like, I feel like I learned a lot in not having that approach with this boyfriend I now have of like we broke up.
And so now you went in with a different tact and it seems to be more effective.
And it was just in a way of like not shutting someone down because they don't know
They're not already
a lot
over
about
the
what
bridge.
you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I think it's muscle memory, especially with pronouns. Like, I mean, in the beginning, like my roommate was misgendering themselves because at the end of the day, no one's been misgendering themselves more than them for their whole fucking life. So sometimes they're going to say he, like, you know, and it's hard. It's muscle memory to like, just be like, we're saying they, we're saying they, we're saying them. Like you have to exercise it. So for someone who's never exercised it before, it's not like if he called my roommate he, I'd be like, don't like, you know, go after him. I was just like, I would just subtly say they like in the next sentence, and then it would kind of just gently remind them.
Pavlovian. Very Pavlovian of you.
But it's just kind of like, I think people need to soften up on the cancel culture shit and just like realize that we can't all be experts in everything. And as someone who is working through a lot of trauma like my whole life, and also now dealing with unemployment, losing a parent, like all these things. It's like, yeah, sometimes I can get out of bed for other reasons. So yeah, I'm not spending that time to learn about something I don't know about. And so I feel like just having an open mind to things helps with that, of not just like, don't have your incel-y brain where you have, just because you're in your mom's basement and you're not exposed to these people, like, doesn't mean everyone's a villain. Like, just, but I say that pretty easily because I'm such a people person. Well, that, like, I've never really had the issues that
you can be you can choose to be the good guy. Even if other people are the villain, you can also turn villains into good guys by choosing to be the good person.
Yeah.
Like maybe someone's had a really tough day and you're having an interaction with them. If you go out of your way to choose to be the good person, and whatever small steps that is in the interaction, that can have a big impact.
Yeah. I think white guilt is like, has really sent a lot of white people into like a dark place of just wanting to call out other white people for.
Thank God I've been trained for generations as an Irishman, as an Irishman and a Cuban. I hate authority. I realize this. I'm 1/16 Cuban. My great grandmother 100% Cuban. Carmen Negrera. I realize I hate authority because of my Cuban heritage and my Irish heritage. So I really question systems of power because of this reason.
Can I just say what the biggest gripe not biggest gripe, but a huge gripe I had, like in 2020 when everyone was like freaking out. So many white people were trying to show that they were a different white by like adding their heritage to like their Instagram account, being like Slavic, Russian, like da-da-da. I almost put Greek on my, because I'm like, I was like, I'm white, but I have heritage. Yeah. And it's like, that's how scared everyone was to be like, don't put me in this. It's like,
people,
it's like, but what are you projecting? Like, if you were just out there being friendly to everyone, like, or accepting to everyone, you wouldn't feel the need to like also differentiate.
Here's a good example for this, I think, of a dirty little secret I discovered about comics, working in comedy as long as I have. The headliners that come through that are clean, sometimes more per capita, they have a higher propensity to have really dirty skeletons in their closet or have really dirty problems.
Interesting.
So, just a piece of advice. If people are willing to engage and talk about dirty parts of humanhood and being people, I'm guessing that they're less likely to be running an international cult of whatever versus people that are shying away from the topic or trying to demonstrate overly to you how good they are and how much good they do for society. Those people are the people you should probably question whether they have good intentions. So the people who say that they are for America or that they grew up in the middle class and represent us, I think all the politicians on both sides of this election are not great choices and are kind of hidden for a deeper influence here. So
totally,
that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah. And I think that...
Have you heard of England? I'm keeping you too long. Have you heard of the country England?
Yes.
You've heard of England?
Yeah.
Have you heard of the silly little thing they do over there called knighting?
No.
Oh, sit down, take a knee, and I'll knight you, sir. And
they do it to the Spice Girls. Yeah.
Really? Thank you. That's a new one. I love that. Well, here at Top Shelf Studios, after a long-form conversation, I am heighting guests because all my life I've been in this very tall form for a lot of it, and people have been like, hey, can I get a couple inches? And shit like this to me. How's the weather up there? You know. And so
I forgot to ask you that.
Because of this, I've realized that there are tall people that are assholes and short people that are assholes, tall people that are kind, short people that are kind, that these are just vessels and vehicles, meat sacks that we drive around on a daily basis. So after this long-form conversation, I'm pleased to be giving Christina Vasili a heart height.
Yes.
You stand 5'2" physically, you said.
Yes. Do I stand?
No.
Okay.
I heart height thee 5'10".
Yes.
I don't think that's too burdensome of a heart height for a female. You should be able to.
I'm excited. I can't wait to take this out into the world.
I mean, you have a large soul, clearly a very caring heart for others, and a caring heart for people that might not be able to care for themselves. So,
yes.
Thank you for being here. Where can the people check you out?
Just Christina Vasili on Instagram. Obviously.
Do you have a show that you're running?
Oh, I do. Every first and third Tuesday at Locales, we have a open mic through Palette City Comedy. So check them out.
Hell yeah. Palette City's the best. The guest coming up after you, I think, is going to be Garrett. So
great. He was my first podcast ever, the Palette City podcast that
Fantastic.
Had about 4 episodes.
Oh, did it not make it?
I don't know, but I was happy to be there.
Started back up, Garrett. You heard, here's the call.
Bring
Bang,
it back.
bang,
Bring
bang.
it back.
Well, it's been a pleasure. We'll get
Likewise.
some Polaroids and get you out of here. Thanks for listening. Go follow her. Check out her comedy if you're around Denver. And
Thank you.
she'll be everywhere soon.
Yeah.
Fuck off and be well.
Fuck off. Bye.